Hello YouTube, this is Muramasa here from Muramasa Gaming, and I have a Mannadium deck profile for you. So, as you can see here, it's pretty standard just for the two cards you're currently seeing, so let's move this to the side and we'll get through. I will explain a little bit of why I'm running some of the cards, as some of them are, or the more modern profiles have dropped some of these cards. So when they arise, I will go through why and just a little description of what I'm doing with these cards. So let's get right on into it. We run the two Vices. He's a 2115, which is reverse of what you technically need, but your Meeks can summon themselves as long as you control a Vice Starfrost or a 1521, and he currently does that. Only run the two because he's searchable by every means, and you have ways of recycling them anyways. Speaking of recycling, we run the 3 Samsara. He takes the name as Visa Starfrost while he's on the field or in the grave, and you can special summon him from the hand by shuffling all of your Visas cards monster-wise that is banished or in your graveyard, and it gains a little bit of attack for each one that you shuffle back. That's really not the main issue. The main issue is he just takes the name of Visas, and you can basically normal summon it and start your combo that way. Next up, we run the 3 Reamheart. Reamheart is a 1521, so you can summon your Meeks off of it. And this card here is basically a god tier starter for this deck. You can make so many really amazing inboards with this. I'm not going to do any test hands or combos in this because they can be a little lengthy, and other YouTubers have done it a lot better and can explain it a lot better than I can. So you're basically just using this to search out Meek or Calarium upon summon, or if you open up with Reamheart and you're in any of your 3 copies of Rekheart, if your opponent was to imperm your Rekheart, you can chain your Reamheart, dodge the imperm, you can get your arrival and your Meek or Calarium from that. Then we're only running the 3 Meek. You can summon it with any 1521 or Visa Starfrost on your field. Also, if it's destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon another Meek from your deck, and you can increase its level by 2. So you can make it into a level 4 tuner. One more thing I forgot to mention about Samsara is he is a light fairy tuner, so he is not searchable by any means in this deck. But he does have the effect that you can make him either count as a tuner or a non-tuner based off of the material that you're using. So you can go level 4 Meek and level 8 Samsara, and you can still go into your Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon with the 2 tuners, because you can make him count as a non-tuner. Which is really good. Next up, we're running our Kashtira lineup, which is our 3 Fenrir and the Scare Cash. I'm not using his main gimmick other than searching for Scare Cash most of the time. I almost never have a reason to leave the Fenrir on field, like almost ever. It's like there's been very few times that I've wanted to leave him on field, and I wish I did, but 9 times out of 10 you're gonna just pop it with Thesis and combo off anyways. Next up, we run the 3 draw, because not only do we die to draw, we also survive because of draw. You can make some really awesome inboards with draw. I was in locals about a little over a week ago, and my opponent drawed me like 2 searches late. Don't ask. But I ended with basically a like your typical inboard, which is like Baron, SP, your Dissipator, Changing lineups. Next up, we run the 3 Ash, because if we can't search, our opponents can't search. This also helps stop a lot of other shenanigans that people can do. Next up, we do run the 2 Abscission. You can destroy a monster that you control, and you can search for Calarium, or if you already have Calarium, you can search for a Mannadium monster. And also you can banish the Abscission and summon the Visa Starfrost from your hand. It does have to be the level 6 Visa Starfrost, and it cannot be Samsara. Next up, we do run the 3 Calarium, because without this card, your deck basically fizzles almost as fast as it starts. If one of your tuners is destroyed, you can bring it back from the grave, which is really good because you can go, you can basically Vice Starfrost, pop Meek, Calarium, Chainlink 1, or Meek Chainlink 1, Calarium Chainlink 2, bring the Meek back from your graveyard, then summon one from the deck, and have the one from the deck go to level 4. And on top of it, this is a hard once per turn on both activation, searching, and the reborn of the tuners. So when you play this, you can either search for a Mannadium monster or your Visa Starfrost. Most of the time you will be searching for Visas, because we are only running the 2, so he is a little harder to open with. Then we are running the 2 Wreckphobia, because again, if we need to see our Visa Starfrost, and if we don't have Visa Starfrost, we do want to see at least our Wreckheart, so we can at least still get our Scareclaw arrival. We are running the 1 Reframing, because sometimes you open weird, and drawing 2 and resetting a card back to the bottom of the deck is really nice. This does play into draw quite a bit, so I'm trying to figure out how I can drop this, but there's not a lot of one-of cards that I can run that's still good or even searchable. But you can also banish this and turn one of your 1521s into a tuner. But now with Samsara, this is almost a dead card now, but it does reset your hand quite a bit. So I'll leave it in there just for the fact of the what if situations. It has won me games, so I will leave it at that. Next up, we do run the 2 Scareclaw Arrival, most broken monster reborn in the game, because it is not once per turn, and it is searchable. And off chance that you get stopped on Lightheart and he stays on field, you can once per turn protect him from destruction by banishing the Arrival. Next up, for the rest of our spells, we run the 1 Rhoda, because we need to search Reamheart or Wreckheart, and deck thin is deck winning, and our Called by the Grave, because again our deck dies to draw, like hard. Then for the last few cards of our deck, we run the 1 Reframing, because as long as we control Visas or a Synchro, we can do a lot of damage with this card. It is a counter trap, and its main use, honestly, is just to... It's literally just to banish it and reset our Meeks. Like, that's really its only major purpose. The fact it's a counter trap and it's searchable is just a bonus. Then lastly, we run our 3 Imperm because it's Imperm. Why would you honestly not run this? It's one of the best hand traps in the entire game. Just drop Imperm, turn 0, shut down your opponent's monster, or you can set it and just shut down an entire column. I've had so many games where opponent forgets Imperm was activated this turn and they play right into the Imperm column. Like, it's almost laughable of how many times in tournament I've seen a player play in the Imperm column against me, or even sitting across from me. It's just there. Going into the extra deck now, we do run our 2 Lightheart. Lightheart's only main focus, even though he's not a once per turn, is to search out your field spell. And he can be reborn as long as you control Visas or Visa Starfrost, so he's also really good on that. Then we run our 1 Cross Sheep because we need to reborn our Meeks. We want to see Meek on field as much as humanly possible. Like, as much as humanly possible. It's like, if you don't have the Synchro effect to let your monsters gain 700, that's fine. But please, for the love of God, only trigger Cross Sheep if he's pointing to a fusion. Next up, we run our 1 SP Little Knight. Probably the best generic Link 2 in this format. It is quite expensive, but it's well worth the price. Just link it off using a Link monster and banish a card from your opponent's field or grave. Cost is you cannot attack directly this turn if you do it, but if you're going first, you can basically remove a hand trap like Ash, Imperm, whatever, and now they're also 1 card down, and you're already not attacking because you went first. We run the 1 Appaloosa. I'm almost tempted to just drop Appaloosa because since I've gotten SP, I like rarely make Appa, but Appa's like really good. Once per chain, monster effect at the cost of 800 attack. Next up, we run our 2 Astrolouds. This card here has won me so many games on his own for the simple fact that my opponent just continuously forgets that he cannot be destroyed by battle. And on summon, I can just rip a card on the field. Well, I can just target and destroy a monster on the field, and he gains the attack equal to the attack or defense half, of course, but of whichever one of the monsters is higher. Then we run our 1 Trisuta because we want to see Meek. This is basically for our level 6 play. Reamheart, Meek make Trisuta. Trisuta goes into Amritara. You're never going to use Trisuta's second effect to turn all your monsters on the field to a level 2 tuner. You can, but there's almost no need to, because we are not running Prime Heart in this deck. Next, we're running the 1 Amritara. You can summon him, you can search for your Obsidian, you can search for Clarium, basically anything that mentions Visa Starfrost. Then we run our Excel Synchron, or Synchro, because again, we want to see Meek on field as much as possible. This is a second way to go into your dispatter if you can't do the Crimson Dragon line, which this rarely comes up for me where I need to go Excel into dispatter and combo that way. Next is actually just a little flex spot. It can be basically whatever you want it to be. I just find this to be kind of a funny card. Is the Chaos Angel. You can treat a light or dark monster as a tuner, and if you synchro it with your light and dark, basically all of your monsters can't be destroyed by battle, and your synchros are unaffected by your opponent's activated monster effects. Dark is your can't be destroyed by battle, and light is the synchros are unaffected effect, so do keep that in mind. Then we run the Cheng Ying. Cheng Ying is almost a godsend in this deck. Opponents forget that he more or less can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, because if he is, I can just banish a card in my graveyard, which triggers his other effect to non-target banish a card on their field and in their grave, and he gains 100 attack for every banished card, your side and your opponent's side, both attack and defense. Then, of course, we have to run the Baron de Fleur. Just Omni Negate, and if you're feeling ballsy with it, you can always pitch him back to the extra deck, reborn something, or if you've already used the negate and your opponent tries to like talents or something and rip it from you, you can also chain your SP and banish your Baron and your SP, and you reset your negate with Baron. So do keep that in mind. Then we run our Dispatter. Dispatter basically to reborn our banished light or dark monsters and just continue the onslaught. And we can also shuffle a card back, and depending on where we shuffle it back to, we can either destroy or we can negate a monster effect. If we shuffle ours back, we destroy, and if we shuffle our opponent's back, we negate the effect. And then lastly, we run the Crimson Dragon, because, well, Crimson Dragon is the only way that we're going to cheese out our Dissipator by targeting our Baron. So, we only have one target for level 8 with Crimson. On the off chance you are stuck with Amritara, you can target the Amritara, bring out your Excel Synchro, bring back your Meek, and you can go into Baron, and then you could always set up the Crimson on the follow-up or Dispatter. And then onto our side deck. I am proxying a single card, so please bear with me on that. I am running 3 DD Crow because my locals is still full of tier limit, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people already have the same feeling that tier limit has been hit so many times that the deck needs to honestly die for at least a couple formats. Then we run our back row / monster hate, which is our Lightning Storm and our Harpies, because lab is still a thing and they can't chain everything because they will lose out on some effects if they chain too much too fast. And some of their cards are hard once per turn, and they tend to set multiple as baits. So, gotta run the Lightning Storm and the Harpies. Lightning Storm can only destroy attack position monsters or back row if you control no face-up cards. So do keep that in mind for the newer players watching this. Then we run our 3 Crossout Designator. Basically, your opponent goes to do something like Ash or Droll, Imperm, whatever. You declare a card name, you banish it from your main deck, and you negate that effect for the rest of the turn. This is a hard once per turn, so do keep that in mind. Next up for our proxy, this is Dimensional Barrier, because again, my locals is full of tier limit, and I want to prevent fusions at all cost, especially on my opponent's turn. But this can basically prevent your opponent from doing any type of special summoning except for link summoning. That's the only exception with Dimension Barrier. You can stop Ritual, Synchro, Fusion, XCs. And then lastly, for our Go Second cards, we run the 3 Evenly Matched. So, on the off chance you can't open with Lightning Storm or Harpies, you got Evenly Matched, so you can at least dwindle their hand or field down to approximately 1. So, really good card. I love it. I just recently picked up these awesome collector's rare. But that's the deck profile. Please leave a comment down below with anything that you might change, and I will take that into consideration moving forward through testing. And if you could leave a like, that would be lovely. And unlike other people, I'm not going to beg you to subscribe, but if you do, I thank you now. And this is Muramasa, signing out.